guys, get ready for a new episode. But first, we had to let that intro music run just a little longer for you today. If you've noticed, we changed it up for this year and probably moving forward for a good bit. We want to thank OnLap Music for letting us use their Miracle music for intro and outro. And I just wanted to introduce to you our new music. Our new music is called Mirror Mirror by our dear friends over at As Strange as Angels. We love you guys. Big things are happening for all of us in this year and moving forward. I love y'all. Thank you for letting us use this music. Get ready because we have a killer episode coming up with an amazing guest. What is going on, everybody? It's your girl Pam with 2200 Taps. Yo, we had the girls from Bad Bitch Vibes podcast on. They crushed it. Glenna actually was the first one for our 2024 season. We don't have seasons, but our year. And man, did she bring it. And I got to tell you, I posted her stuff on LinkedIn, and then I knew from a while back I wanted to get this next guest on. I feel like I'm in the presence of one of the biggest badasses, and I only say that. Number one, she's Air Force veteran, retired Air Force veteran, and I have to give her props because I tried to retire, but I got hurt before that. It's just like, dude, she's an Air Force sister in arms and a badass at my books. I met her at an event at AT&T Stadium not too long ago with our buddy Sal, and it was a salute to service career event, kind of teaching us how to do resumes and all that good stuff. However, when she went up and grabbed the mic and shared her story, I was like, I need to ask her if she wants to come on, and she agreed. So with that, I want to introduce you guys to Lakeydra Houston. How you doing, Lakeydra?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm doing, dude, I had goosey bumps over here. Like, you can't really, I don't even get to see it. I'm like, I don't know if that's the Holy Spirit or what, but something good is about, like, seriously, my little arm hairs that I shave are standing. Holy crap. Oh, this is good. This is good. I'm already like stoked. Or it's probably the espresso I just had right before I jumped on. I'm good, man. Thank you so much for being here today. So much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Of course. You know, I love to do homework on my guests. The only homework I could find are a lot of interviews with you. And amongst the story that you shared with us, what a freaking story you've got. And I don't know all of it. And the latest one I jumped on to hear, you shared something else. I was like, Jesus, we can go in like a million directions. So I'd like to give you the floor real quick. Just kind of give us a little background on you. I kind of filled them in, about 20 years in the Air Force, which damn, brah freaking oh, man. Hell yeah, dude. I swear, that's like a rite of passage. But yeah, if you could kind of introduce yourself a little bit to our listeners, and then we're going to dive right in and hopefully these goosey bumps can go down. I'm pumped. I don't know what it is. I took one sip. I might be like seeing sound here in a minute. So it's all you, my friend.
Yeah. So thank you for having me. I'm Lakeydra Houston. As you mentioned, I'm a 20-year Air Force veteran. I did 10 years as security forces, which is basically a cop, and then 10 years as a recruiter. So I got out the military 2022, had a rough time transitioning, and now I'm here to, help others, with their transitioning process, as well as make sure that we help those ones that are struggling with trauma. So didn't really like sharing my story, but I had to because someone told me when you shared my story, you saved my life. So I'm here to do it. Let's go.
Oh my God. And I got to tell you, it's kind of funny. A little bit about me. It's weird, guys. Like, we just kind of formally met right before I hit record, like really formally met. So this is going to be interesting, but the whole reason this podcast started was because of my story, and because someone chose to share their story through music. It helped me take suicide off the table in 2014. And it was the lyrics. It was that story, right? Mm-hmm. I'm like, I want to put music to people's stories. And before that took off, I was a guest on a podcast. And then I'm like, I want to do this. And this took off way faster than me putting music to people's stories. And I've said it before, guys, 2200 taps. That's 2200 TAPS. 22 for the veterans who lose a day. If not, I guarantee you it's a lot more now. The zeros, because that's our goal, is to get to zero, and taps to honor the ones we've lost and continue to lose. It just made sense, and that's where we're at. And I get it. And damn it, of anybody and all the guests that I'm looking at, I know you get it.
Yes. Yeah.
So like I said, I'm super stoked that you're here and you're doing big things, sister. I got to tell you, I've been listening, and you're doing big things. So it's an honor.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm trying.
Hey,
Trying.
I'm right there. But there's power in your story, and I heard you say that a lot. Just when you share your story, you give people permission to share theirs or their pain or what they're going through, and
Right.
that's what it's all about here. So we love it.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
but I want to get started with you. Like I said, this can go in so many different. Geez, like it was learning more and more things about you, and I feel like the biggest thing I'd love to just get started on is like what made you who you are. Really going back to your childhood, because that's where it was starting on a lot of these episodes I was listening in on top of the trauma and the tragedies you've personally been through with your best friend at 13. I told you I did my homework.
Yeah.
Your was it your sister that passed away?
Yes.
Yeah. And kind of leading up to like why you are choosing to step into these roles and these spotlights, if you will, to
Yeah.
be like, hey, this is my story, and we need to fix
Right.
this because this is how it impacted me, and it's how it's impacted others. So yeah, if we can get started there, that'd be. Yeah, I know it's gonna be hard, but we'll get through it together. How about that?
Yeah, we're gonna work through it. So
Totally.
a little bit about me, my sexual assault started at 6 years old, right? From a family member, actually two family members. And it kind of molded me to what I am today because I saw the trauma and I saw um, the actions of, what they did to me. Like I was depressed. I didn't believe in myself. I was just living, or just surviving. I wasn't living. And I met one of my good friends. I met her. She was actually my best friend at 13. And she went through the same thing, sexual assault. And at first I didn't tell my family because I was like, if I tell them, what are they going to think? And then also you're told that you're going to get killed if you say something. And you're like, okay, well,
Yeah.
I can't say anything. And so met a girl, Crystal, became best friends. And she told me that she was sexually assaulted by her father. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we have the same story. And what's so interesting, we were in school and she's like, hey, we're going to have a suicide party. And I'm like, what is that? Like, in my head, I didn't
She
think,
said that.
yes. Yeah.
Hmm.
And at that time, I was like, oh, what is that? Naive. We didn't have social media. We didn't,
Yeah.
internet. We didn't really research what that was. So I it kind of went one ear out the other. And she was like, oh, I don't mean anything by it. I'm just kidding. And so I did ask an adult what suicide was. And they told me that's when somebody takes their life, but she won't do it. So I was like, okay, she's just kidding. And so I remember, I remember right before she committed suicide, or died by suicide. I remember having a phone call with a counselor there, and I'm like, hey, we need to get her help. And I even asked my grandma, basically, like, hey, can she stay with us? And my grandma was like, no, just we need to get her help. So our whole thing was let's get her help, but no one would listen. So I felt this one day, I felt kind of eerie. And I'm like, she's not here. I'm asking, run around, has anybody talked to her? I get this phone call at the school. And we're in middle school. Get this phone call saying, hey, Crystal's dead. They found her body. She has a shotgun wound to her head. And I'm like, what? And so I was upset. I'm like, I told y'all that she needed help. So that changed my life right there because I got the only person I trusted to know my secret was gone. So now I'm walking around lost. You know what I mean?
So what's crazy about that is, I don't know if you remember this or not, but I'm going to share this with you. I don't think I've shared it with anybody ever other than my immediate family who is affected. Mm-hmm. Did she share that, hey, we're going to do a party about a week or so before she did it?
Yeah.
So I only say that I've lost a lot of people to suicide, more than I care. I'm so jaded by it, which is shitty of me to say, but it's just like, Jesus Christ. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
A cousin of mine did it. And apparently he shared with one of his kids after he planned it, hey, we're going to have a lot of visitors coming next weekend. So we got to run to the grocery store, this, that, and the other. It was about a week before he killed himself.
Yeah.
And he already made the decision and he planned it. And I have a lot of friends that they've taken it off the table, myself included, they were ready to go, and they felt like when they made the decision to do it, they were the happiest they could ever be. They were so
Yeah.
excited and happy because they knew they
Hmm.
weren't going to be around anymore.
That's how she was. And that's why I thought nothing was going to happen because I was
Right.
like, oh, she's happy. She's not depressed like she said she
Yeah.
was. Yeah. And so it wasn't any signs. It just that statement, that comment. Yeah,
Hmm.
it was wild. Um, yeah.
So that happened to you at 6, and we just had Glenna on. Her episode is actually the one right before yours,
Hmm.
or the one that we just released, I should say. And she shared that with us. She had SA when she was 6, all the way till
Hmm.
she was about 18,
Mm.
and we're just like, what? And I did my ass. I was like, what is SA? Because I've never heard it been called that. I've been sexually molested as a kid.
Hmm.
I don't know if that was abuse, but I've never heard it. I guess I've never paid attention, and that's on me.
Yeah.
Um, Now I know. Um, so what was that like for you when you lost her and you're just like, you were same age, I'm guessing 13ish?
Yeah. We were about the same age. Yeah. So it was different. I didn't know how to deal with it. Like I kind of went to this dark hole. I started skipping school. I started
Hmm.
acting out. My anger, kicked in. And then me and my grandma were sitting watching TV one day, and I kind of told her what was going on about the sexual assault and the molestation and everything. And I told her, and I think it was shocking, because it's like, you know, they want to protect me, right? And I just was scared, at that time. Um, but at that moment, nothing happened. It was, the guy's in denial, family members are in denial,
Hmm.
whatever. So it just was one of those things like whatever. So I started using drugs at 16. And so to cope with it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Now, now, real quick, I heard you. Did I hear you right that you were raised by your grandparents?
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. My mom was 16 when she had me, so I had them.
Mine was too.
What? Yeah, dude.
Hmm.
Yeah. But my grandparents, it was like we were growing up together.
Yeah.
It's
That's how it is.
I get it. Oh, I get it. I get it. There's a lot of I
Hmm.
swear there's a lot of similarities between us.
Yeah.
Um, so at 13, and mine was about 14 when I started. I had a falling out with my douchebag of a dad.
Yeah.
That's a fragile age. Those teen
Yeah.
years, So
Hmm.
you started drugs at 16,
Hmm.
and then
Yeah.
what?
So the drugs start happening. Just ecstasy. I was supposed to be playing basketball, and I kind of stopped playing basketball, volleyball, and was using ecstasy and snorting coke and anything I get my hands on because I just want that relief, right?
Mm,
And something told me like I got really messed up one day, and I could not. I chased that high and I couldn't get it, and I felt like it was a vision that told me like you're gonna kill yourself. You need to stop. And during that time, all my friends were all going to rehab. Like even still now, they're struggling.
mm.
But I had to heal from it. Like something told me like you have to heal. And when I was 18, I went to the recruiter's office and I was like, hey, I need to get out of here. Like, what can we do here? So that's how my journey began in the military.
To get away from it,
Yeah, to
which
get
is
away from it.
common.
Hmm.
To leave the home life, whether it's whatever that looks like. There's a lot of that. Wow,
Yeah. It
crazy.
yeah, it was so wild because in that moment I was like, oh, I'm gonna be fine. Like I can shake this, whatever this is, but I just couldn't shake it. Like I would have nightmares of the, molestation, sexual assault. Like I would have all those. Like it would flashbacks. And what's so interesting, mine was from 6 to about 11, and then didn't even think about it after that. And then as soon as I turned 16, 17, I'm having flashbacks
Mm,
like of it and being in the moment,
mm.
like sleeping, waking up in sweats. Like it was bad. So I was like, I gotta leave. I can't be here. And then running into seeing them, oh no.
Um,
Just seeing them everywhere. No.
I don't know if anybody's told you, but I'm really sorry that happened to you.
Yeah, thank you.
It's not.
Yeah.
You didn't deserve it. You didn't ask for it. It wasn't anything you were wearing. It wasn't on you. It was just some really sick people. You know.
Right.
Well, let me ask you this. I don't know if you've been asked this or not, but I'm curious because I've this is like my stuff. This is my junk, right? And I'm
Hmm.
already kind of feeling a really. I feel like I'm seeing a mirror when I'm listening to you and looking at you right now. I'm just curious, how often have you told yourself that you don't matter?
That I don't matter?
Yeah. Like how,
I
like,
don't even have to tell myself. It's like I believe it. It's like I don't even have to tell myself because I feel that way.
right.
Yeah.
And I'm curious because almost a similar upbringing as far as like the parents' role.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, that tape, that lie that we tell ourselves and feel, like I feel that right with you.
Mm-hmm.
It's just on repeat so much.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just curious
That's how it
because,
is.
yeah, and it's easy.
Yeah.
It's easy to believe.
Yeah. It's like I'm at the point where I just don't feel like I'm trying to make it out of here and be like, okay, you're gonna make it, you're gonna survive. But in the back of my head, I'm like, why? Like, why do you deserve to be here? And my other friends can't be here. You know what I mean? Like they meant more to this world than you do.
Because somebody taught us that we don't matter.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
I get that.
Yeah.
So you enlisted in the Air Force,
Mm-hmm.
and I know something happened to you pretty quickly as soon as you enlisted.
Man, so it's so interesting. I left the home to get away from it, and then not even being in the military 6 months. It was 60 days that I got to my first duty station. I got sexually assaulted. And I'm like, I cannot run away from this. Whatever I do, like this stuff follows me. Like it's something I'm doing. So I always believe it was something that I was doing. And this is from a first sergeant, like someone who is supposed to be teaching you the ropes, getting you, everything you need. My first day meeting you one-on-one, the first thing you want to do is touch my breast.
That was the first day?
First day of meeting him. Yes.
What year did you enlist? Because I enlisted in 03.
2002. So I met him March 31st, 2002.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So very close. And I'm trying to compare on purpose because I know what the military looked like for me back in the day when we enlisted.
Mm-hmm.
So I can kind of identify and understand what you're talking. It's just different now. But back then it was...
Yeah.
It was pretty shitty.
Back then? Yeah, back then, I was security forces, I was a cop. So back then, we didn't talk about sexual assault.
Mm-mm.
They told me, like my flight mates had already told me, be careful, he's nasty. Why would you tell me? You told me that already going, like, so I'm like, oh, what does that mean? I'm not thinking that he's going to touch me, but I'm like, okay, this is awkward. So they knew he had a history of touching the women that were in there.
And nobody helped you.
And so,
And nobody tried to like...
No. Nobody said anything. So when I went in his office and sexually assaulted me, well, first off, he touched my breast and then he tried to undo my pants and try to penetrate me. So I go and I run out the door, right? This is the thing. I run out the door and I see this girl who's there and she's on the rod squad. That's what we used to call it. So she's on the rod squad. The rod squad is where they pick up rocks if they get in trouble, right? So she comes to me and she says, he touched you, you better not say anything because you're going to do what I'm doing and you're going to go back home. Like he's going to make sure you go home. Yeah. So think about it. I'm sitting there. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? I go to my dorm room. I'm like on the floor. Like, are you serious? Like freaking out. And I go back the next day, meet my flight mates. And they're like, I bet he touched you, right? Like already knew it. But I didn't say anything. I was like, I'm a black girl. He probably won't like black girls. I'm just making a joke or whatever to try to lighten up the mood. And my life went downhill after that. Like I just couldn't. I just started drinking alcohol to just cope with it. And I was back suicidal again all over. Yeah.
Were you suicidal as a teen?
Yeah. So when my friend committed suicide, I was suicidal, but I didn't know what it was.
Got it. Okay.
Right. So I was maybe I should do the same thing. I shouldn't be here. She's not here. Nobody believes me. I don't have anybody, but I didn't think that was anything. So I shook it off, So I was like, okay. But thinking back, yeah, definitely was.
So the same stuff that you went through as a civilian, as a kid, not even just a civilian, you were a kid.
Mm-hmm.
It's replaying all over again in the military.
Right.
in your infancy, literally your infancy, as a junior enlisted.
Hmm. Yeah. So to
Yeah.
this day, when people are like, oh man, thank you for your service, I'm like, I don't know how the heck I made it to retirement. Like, I seriously don't. I don't know how I made 20 years. I don't. Um, I didn't want him to succeed. Like, I didn't want him to like take that power away from me. Right. So I was like, I'm going to stay in and prove him wrong, and I'm going to fight this thing.
You know what's
But
you know what's crazy? How much that just like oh, lights fire under my ass. Just here's the thing, right? Because what usually happens to assholes like that is nothing. They get out with a retirement. They're probably living this amazing life, which they're probably miserable. And you're like, how the hell did that just happen? And now I have to. They can retire and get out, and I got to still deal with this shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was so weird. Like, it was just walking around and knowing that he's in the same building. I don't know how many girls he did that to, but I know if I said something, I would go back home. I didn't know what was going to happen when I went back home. I knew I probably going to get a dishonorable discharge, and then I'll have to relive this that I dealt with as a child. So I was just like, I might as well stay here and just continue and just keep quiet.
It's scary.
So I did that.
It's scary because, like, even in the service, I never really talked about it. When I was active duty, there was a time I bashed in my closet door and cut myself because I was just like ready to end it. Even then, and I've dismissed it up until this very conversation, actually. I was about 26 when that happened. But I was so scared to ask for help. So scared.
Yes.
Because it's like they may kick you out because you're no longer fit for duty. And I recently, not to take over the conversation, but remind me, or I'll do it at the end of the show. When I was in school for film, we had to write a script. The class had to vote on whose script they want to do a short film on, and they picked mine. And I wrote a script about my story, and it's called Damned If I Do. And it's actually, the plot's a little different than what happened, but it talks about Damned If I Do is like, it's what we're talking about right now. If I go get help, I could lose my career. So then you see my character tells with the tailspin, the dreams and this and that. So much so that my character grabs a gun, sits on the couch, and is ready to take her life, you know? And I heard you say that on the show earlier, by the way. And I'm like, holy shit. Like, I get that. You know what I'm saying? And I say all that because, number one, if you're cool with it, I'd love to send you the link, but just be cautious. It can be very, you know, but I say that because where the hell was I going with that? Oh, we couldn't say anything. You couldn't because you might get kicked out. And that was and people were getting kicked out.
Right. And even now, like you hear stories. There's so many, like, there was a Me Too military movement. It was so many women that had came out saying, hey, I've been sexually assaulted by my leader, or were kicked out. Like, right now I work with homeless women, and the homeless women I run to have all been sexually assaulted. I have not met probably one, but I'll say 95% of the women on my caseload have all been sexually assaulted and were kicked out the military. Yeah. Dishonorable discharges. Dishonorable because they felt like they were not fit for duty, or it was mental health or things like that. I mean, that's what's going on right now.
We're so bass backwards. We're so bass backwards. Even like the first responders, police officers and stuff. And like I say, I'm probably gonna get crap for it. But this is my stepdad's retired chief of police. I've done law enforcement. I think I have a little bit of cred to talk about this.
Yeah.
When someone's mental health is a big thing when it comes to us with veterans, first responders, and it's a human issue. It's not just that; it's civilians and everybody. But what's the first thing you do that the hospitals want to do with you when you're a law enforcement officer and I've been told this. I'd be really careful what you tell me right now. What's the first thing that the social worker and all of them are going to do?
Yep.
They're going
to.
What's the first thing they're? Well, take away your guns. And you know what? Police officers, I got to stay on track because I'm like ready to like fly out of this window with this coffee. Holy crap. The biggest issue with it is our mental health issues. Police officers have to see stuff, veterans, you name it. But guess who's carrying a gun every day? You know, so of course you're going to be doing drugs and alcohol. Of course we're going to be drinking alcohol to like shove it down. So we're going to keep the people with alcohol problems and get rid of the people that actually want help. We are so backwards. It is insane. I hope that made sense because it did not make sense coming out of my caffeinated mouth right now.
it really made no, it really made sense. It really does. We need mental health services. Yeah. I mean, we definitely, because again, like you said, what we see, what we go through, and then we're going to so we're dealing with other people's situations and circumstances, then we're dealing with our own personal thing. And it's like, you have to cover what you got going on to protect everybody else. So you're not getting any help. Like you're just, I don't know. It's wild. It's wild.
You don't have time to process. You got to go to the next call. You got to do this. And it's just one thing after another, after another, after another. And it just, that compound.
And think about as a cop. Yeah. Think about as a cop, I'm a military cop and I would have to respond to sexual assault. And I'm sitting there like having to, I can't cry. I can't show any emotion. I just have to sit there and be cold. And I felt like I wasn't a voice for those people in that moment. You know what I mean? Like it was scary to see some of the scenes of sexual assault. My youngest girl, she was 3 months old. 3 months. So just think of the process of like, man, a baby, my first one. I lost it. And then seeing males and I mean, it was wild. It was wild. So yeah, I needed counseling back then. I wish I would have, but I wanted to be strong and serve our country, right? So
I'm really trying not to lose it over here.
Look, my eyes are watery too. That's why I'm trying to like pinch my leg and stuff to not cry.
It's good. We'll cry together. We'll just have a moment. Like 3 months old.
3 months, yes. And the guy, her dad ended up committing suicide, or dying by suicide. I don't know what people like to say, committing and dying by suicide, but he died by suicide in our jail. So it was,
that's hard.
Yeah, but it was hard for me responding.
Did you have
to walk off?
Yeah, did you have your son by then? Did you have your kiddo by then?
Yes, so I had my oldest son by then, and I was away from him so much responding to these calls. But I'll go home and I'll be like, I will hope somebody's not doing that to my child. You know what I mean? Like because I was deployed and I was going everywhere. So I was always fearful of him.
And make those connections. It's just, that's hard.
Yeah. Yeah. It was rough. It was rough.
Well, I'm going to be very sensitive around this topic that I'd like to just get to. And that's when you were at your rock bottom, choosing to take yourself out.
Man. So I had 2 attempts, right? The earliest was 2009, right? Official attempt. And so that's probably, so my sister was murdered in March, was raped and killed in March of 2009. And I was already dealing with my emotions because of 3-month-old, all these other, so I was dealing with all my emotions anyway. Yeah. And then get a phone call saying, your sister was raped and murdered, took me out. So I remember going I don't know where I was mentally. I just remember I was like a ghost for like a day. I couldn't move. I didn't know what was going on. I couldn't process it. Like we just were on the phone. So after a funeral, I came back and everybody's like, "You're okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So I'm trying to be this tough person. And I get back and I'm like, I have a gun in my head, and I cocked it back and I was ready. And I got in the corner of the apartment where me and my ex-husband lived or whatever. And I just put the gun in my head and I was like, I'm done. And he jumped on me, which is so weird. He jumped on me and got the gun. And I'm telling you, it's so interesting because it was like, it was a second. Like if he wouldn't have came within that second, I would have been dead because I put the pressure on that gun waiting. So
what's hitting you?
Just the replay.
Okay. Take a deep breath. Let's
It's
take
like,
a deep breath. Let's take a deep breath. You're okay.
you know, I'm a visual person, so
Yeah.
it's just a replay of it. And
Well, I don't want to re-traumatize you
like,
either.
no, I'm
So,
fine because I talk about this all the time. But it was just thinking about her,
your sister?
just thinking about her. Yeah, my sister, and
Okay.
how amazing she was. And I just couldn't. I thought I could not be without her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so,
You were
and
done.
just thinking about, wow, I'm still here. Yeah, like, wow, I'm still here. So, after to the gun, of course, I'm hearing, hey, don't tell anybody that you're suicidal, that you attempted suicide. Like, don't say anything because, again, you get kicked out. So my ex-husband was like, Keydra, you got to pull it together. And so he helped me get counseling. Like, we went off base. We went through military one source, went off base, but I was still like taking pills. I was like ready. Throw the pills up, and I'm like, I can't even kill myself. Like, what's wrong with me? Like, I'm horrible. Like, I'm not even strong enough to kill myself, you know? I'm doing this all wrong. Like, I can't do anything right.
Right.
So it was like, okay, well, there's obviously, you know, these pills are coming up. This gun didn't go up. Like, obviously, there's a reason for me to be here. And so, sought help and went on that journey. And yeah, that's where I was on my first attempt. And then my last one was in 2022, which I shared, you know.
Recent.
Yeah, recent. So November 22nd, 2022, received a phone call. And that was during the time I was transitioning from the military. And I got out the military February 2022. And then, you know, you do so many great things in the military. You know, you uplift everybody. All your people get promoted and nobody's there for you. No phone call. No, hey, how are you doing after retirement? How are you feeling? No, nothing. So I was alone, right? And I thought I had so many best friends. Like, I thought I was the cool person, but I wasn't. And then November, you know, 22nd, when I get a phone call saying, hey, you need to come to the hospital. Your son's en route. Your son's overdosed on fentanyl, and you need to be here ASAP. Went to the hospital and was told he had 3 days to live.
I remember you sharing this now.
Yeah.
Holy God.
Yeah. So I'm dealing with visioning, and I'm dealing with depression and trying to figure this whole thing out. And then now I got to deal with my son. And I had that pain from being in the military. Like, man, you know, I was so focused on drinking to get over the pain. I was focused on deployments, everything. And I felt like my son dying was going to be because of me. Like, I wasn't there as a mother. I didn't know the work-life balance, you know? And then I had to go back. I had multiple rapes while I was in Korea. So I'm dealing with all that.
You had
everything
more?
I ran from. Yeah.
What?
When I went to Korea, yes. So when I went, after being sexually assaulted by my first sergeant, I went to Korea in like 2005, 2006, drinking heavy, woke up, a guy next to me, either I'm bleeding or I'm, you know, just there in their bed. Don't even know what happened the night before. Knowing I didn't want to sleep with them, supposed to be there with friends, and they leave me there. And so, yeah. So all that,
I'm ready to hurt somebody so bad right now. I am so ready to hurt somebody. Were they in your unit?
No. So most of the guys that were supply, or they were supply or F-16, F-15 maintenance guys. So crew chiefs, those guys.
But they were still active duty guys.
Yeah. And one was a cop. Yeah. So they were all active duty. But I just was like, oh, well, I was drunk and I probably deserved it and whatever. Because I would ask my friends about it. Like, oh, yeah, y'all were flirting in the corner. And I'm like, well, why didn't you stop me if you know I was drinking? Like, why didn't you help me? Why didn't you walk back with me? Where were you at? And instead of saying, hey, you know, I failed you, it was, oh, like you're being a hoe. That's what they would say. I'm like, okay. So that's why I took it as me being a hoe and deserving to get raped. Yeah.
Damn.
So all that poured into me. Yeah. All that was heavy on me. Yeah. So yeah. So I couldn't be a mom.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So then your kid's in the hospital.
Mm-hmm. So the kid's in the hospital. Chaplain comes in. So, you know, it's serious when the chaplain comes in. They're like, hey, you know, your last will until, you know, do you want me to pray for you? Whatever. And I'm like, no, I just want to see him, you know? And so I went and saw him, and I saw him, you know, he was in a coma. He was jumping and moving around, and it was so weird. And I said, okay, I'm going to go home. My mom stayed there, and they said, well, he has 3 days. So I didn't want to stay there the full 3 days. Like, I was freaking out. So I had already knew that when I got home, I was going to more than likely try to shoot myself again. So went home, put a gun to my head, and I got on my knees and I was like, I'm done. Like, I struggled with all this stuff, and now I'm going to lose my son. Yeah. So I blamed myself for all that. And then it's like something told me, Keydra, don't do it. I dropped the gun down on the ground and I said, well, God, if you don't want me to do it, raise them up. I was just being, I was so angry. Like, raise them up, show me, go to the hospital, like day number 2.5, whatever, go to the hospital. And the doctors are like, who's the mom? I'm like, me. And they're like, your son's taking a feeding tube out, or his breathing tube out of his mouth. I was like, what? Are you serious? He's sitting there chewing, gnawing the thing. So I was like, oh my God, you're real. Like, I have to continue telling my story. Like, to see him open his eyes and say, Mom, are you okay? What's wrong? Like, it was crazy to me. It's like, what? You're supposed to be dead. I was getting everything ready.
Including yours.
Yeah.
And
I'm getting everything ready.
Had you actually taken yourself out, you would have missed it.
Yeah. Yeah. So he was there for 8 days. So we stayed up there. He was, learning to walk again. He was eating. And I think that right there showed me that I had more to live for. Even though I doubt myself, it showed me I had more to live for. But he did also tell me that the reason why he started using was because he was sexually assaulted as well. He was raped. And that took me out.
Have you, how old is your kid?
He's 20 now.
Okay. Okay. I was going to ask if you've ever shared your story with him. I'm sure he knows by now, but have you ever sat with him and you know what, kid, we need to have a come to Jesus moment because I got to tell you something.
Yeah. And we did. And he saw it on, YouTube. He's like, Mom, And so I empowered him to share his story. And he came and told me, he's like, Mom, this happened to me. And it was just, I know the person who did it. So I'm trying to hold back, trying to find this person. Like, it's a struggle now. But yeah, man, it's a struggle now.
What's crazy? I could sit in a room with 100 people. And 100% of the time, not this 99.9% crap, 100% of the time, if you ask them, did something happen to you when you were a child? You don't have to even say what it was. Like, how many have gone through something significant as a kid? Everybody's going to raise their hand. So I say that because you're not alone. We're not alone in all this. You know what I'm saying? There's so many people that are just holding on to it and don't want to share. Mm-hmm. And I want to applaud you for doing that. And your boy for being able to see that, like, hey, Mom did it. I can do this. That's big. That's really cool.
Yeah. It was interesting to just have that part of our life, where we could share and try to heal together, even though he's not at the healing point that I'm at. Like, that's the part I'm trying to get him to see, but he's still struggling with addiction. He's in that, he's so angry right now. Yeah. So we don't really talk that much because he's so focused on, not healing. He's just lashing out. So I know we'll get to a point where we'll get better, but I blame myself for him turning out the way he did. So I gotta let that go. So I'm in counseling for that right now.
I mean, it's I have this saying, and I'm gonna put it on a T-shirt. So I'm gonna quote it right here on the air. You gotta go through it to grow through it.
Mm-hmm. So true.
To tell somebody they need to get over a tragedy or trauma is, I want to punch people in the throat when they say that. I really do. You'll never get over it. You learn to manage it, but you've got to go through it. You got to go through it to grow from it. You really have to. And it's a choice. And like I tell people, man, what's the first thing you do when your kid or you get a cut on your leg and there's dirt and crap in there? What's the first thing you got to do?
Clean it out.
There it is. And if you don't, it gets infected. And I feel like that's what our stuff is. We have all this stuff that's happened to us, and until we go back in there and clean it out, it's just going to keep infecting us to the point where we are showing up sideways to everybody and anybody.
Yeah. And see, I didn't realize that part. I was lashing out. I was being disrespectful. Like, there are times that I even lashed out at my grandma, who's basically my mom, but I used to lash out at her. Like, I would just do things because I was so angry.
Yeah.
And so when you say clean out, like, I had to be honest, sit in my shit. And that I had to really, really sit and see, where is this coming from? Why do I have abandonment issues? Why am I depressed? Why don't I feel loved? Or why don't I feel like I deserve love? Why did I keep on having these cycles of horrible relationships? Like, I had to really sit down and figure this out. And I'm still figuring it out, right?
Yeah.
And so when people say you're healed, I don't believe anybody, I mean, I don't know. I think you're still always healing.
Yeah. I like to tell people I'm mended. I'm not broken.
Yeah.
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 We're always going to have work to do. We're always going to have work to do, but it's getting under that anger and addressing what is that. And usually it's you're hurt, you're sad, you're this, you're that. And anger is just that secondary emotion. I've done a lot of work on myself. I'm not a psychologist. I don't try to be one. I'm not a life coach. I just know what I've been through, and talking to people like you, and it just, man, I get that. Well,
yeah. And it sucks, but I mean, I used to run from even speaking about this. I didn't start speaking out until, like, really publicly. It's probably like 2019 is when I officially, like, came out and was like, hey, this is what's going on. But this is the first year, I would say this, that I have, or 2023 was the first year I actually spoke out without being ashamed. Like, not having, I regret it happened to me, but being okay with it, if that makes sense. Like, it happened to me, so what are you going to do with it? Are you going to sit down and just hold on to your story? Or are you going to go out there and share it with others?
Right.
So, yeah, I had to learn to,
well, I know you said it.
Talk about it.
I know you said it earlier. I didn't mean to cut you off. In one of the interviews, life, and David says it at the gym at Adaptive Training Foundation, and I learned it through them. It's like life happens for you, not to you.
To you, yep.
It's going to happen for you, meaning you can sit in your shit and be the victim for the rest of your life, or you can use that and find purpose in it. Finding purpose in your story, I feel, is the most amazing and powerful thing. It is hard. It is. You think I want to talk about my stuff over and over and over and over again?
Right.
But if it's going to help impact somebody and potentially save a life and change a family, like let's do it. I'll do it. Let's go.
Yeah.
So I'm right with you on that. I love that you said that in that interview. I did.
Yeah. It was just, I always say transform your pain into power. I truly believe that. Like, it's, man, I sit here with you just thinking about, like, where I should be. Like, I should, I really should be dead. Like, seriously, like,
Same.
Just so many things happen within my life, even deployments, like, where I could have been dead. And so I'm always like, there's a reason why I'm here. There's a reason. So now it's just trying to make sure that, even though sometimes I share my story, I have to know my boundaries of, like, okay, yeah, shut up. Maybe this week isn't a good week for you, whatever. But I'm here to save somebody else so they don't have to struggle like I did,
Yeah.
So
100%. That's why I put boundaries around this show. It's like I put out an episode a month. I feel like I'm at the point where I want to put out 2 a month now. But for a while there, it was just like constantly, and it was beginning to get too much for me. Like, because I was taking on, and I didn't realize I was doing that, and I was showing up sideways, and I was getting depressed. I'm like, where's this coming from? It's the stories. It's good stuff. But it just healthy boundaries, right?
Yeah, definitely. You have to have them.
May I ask you a hard question?
Uh-oh. Sure.
Is suicide off the table for you?
Woo. I want to say it is, but I don't know.
Okay.
No, I don't know.
I can respect that.
Yeah.
I can totally
You always
respect
want to, I always speak about resiliency, overcoming things, but then the back of my head, I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. And maybe that's why I'm doing the work for myself this year, or in starting in January, I found a trauma informed therapist, first trauma informed therapist I ever found.
Okay.
So yeah, I want to have it off the table, but at this moment, I don't know.
Good. That's fair. That's
Yeah.
fair. I tell people it's off the table for me, but I still think about it every now and then.
Hmm.
I know how I would do it, and now I have the means, but now I have a safety plan in place. I do have a safety.
Right.
I have had to with my therapist. I'm like, what do I do? And she's like, let's
Hmm.
put a plan in place. And actually, I didn't do it with her. I did it with myself. And
Hmm.
I'm like, all right, we're good. You know.
Yeah.
One thing I will share with you, I had a mentor help me take suicide. It was his story because he had attempted years ago and he survived. He actually attempted the suicide attempt and he survived it. Went through a program where he was one of the trainers. He ended up being one of our mentors, hundreds of people. His
Hmm.
story and the lyrics through the music helped me take it off the table, take suicide off the table. He ended up killing himself, like succeeding the second time. You
Hmm.
want to talk about a mind fuck. You know what I'm saying? It was more like, if he can't even make it, do I have a shot? Do I have a chance? And that was the thing. It's like these people, like us, like we do this, but how do we pour back in ourselves? And I know
Yeah.
firsthand what it did to us, like to see that happen with him. I've just seen it. It hits
I
so
think I know who
freaking
you're
close.
talking about. I think I know who you're talking
Do
about.
you think? Okay.
He was a part of ATF for a little bit, or
Mm,
was he out? He was a part of not ATF, but he was a part of he was out hosting a lot of or being a part of like a whole bunch of events. I can't. Isn't it Chris? I don't know. I can't think his name.
We did no, no, it's not him. We'll talk
Okay.
after this real quick. But we
Yeah.
did lose. We
Yeah.
did with that. We did lose an ATF brother in May to suicide
Okay.
recently. We did.
Yeah.
We did lose another one, and it's just like, dude, it just tired of it. Just
Yeah.
tired of it. But I get it. And
Yeah.
somebody called me out on something before. A good friend of mine. She's like, make sure. Like, have you ever heard of imposter syndrome? I
Mm.
was like, what's that? I really didn't know. I was like, what's that?
Hmm.
She's like, well, you think you got your shit together and you portray it that you do when you really don't, and you're doubting yourself every day, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I'm gonna take a look at that, and I did, and I'm like, dude, all day I dealt with that. I didn't even realize that doubting my abilities to help others when I'm putting it out there that I do that. You know what I'm saying? So I've
Yeah.
asked people, like, how do you? Let me ask you this, because this is where I'm going with that. How do you take care of you so that you don't find yourself tipping over? Uh, in addition to the boundaries that you say you put in place to make sure you're okay to show up healthy for you, your family, your kid,
Hmm.
whoever. What does that look like for Lakeisha?
So a lot of things I do is I gratitude every morning. I'm grateful for something. I always say that. Like I'm grateful for just breathing. I start journaling to help me. So I do like a lot of those things to get me centered when I'm feel depressed. I also like meditation. Meditation's been like my oh my gosh, my go-to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and also just like praying, you know what I mean? I know some people are spiritual, whatever, but it just kind of like, okay, I'm here for a reason. I don't know. I'm not a good prayer, but I'm like, I'm here, use me, show me what to do, and we'll go from there. Like that's something
Yeah.
simple. Amen.
Hey.
You know what I mean? So it's like, I try to talk myself like into like, you're okay. I won't say, I always say you're okay because I don't like saying that word, but I'm like, you're going to get through this. You have this power within you. You have the strength. I am beautiful. I am strong. Like I try to do affirmations to myself to make me feel worthy and just to remind myself. And that imposter syndrome, I'm like, oh, it's so fake. But if I keep on saying it, I think I will believe it one day. So
Yeah.
that's what I was told.
I'll tell you what, it hit me between the eyes when she called me out on that. I was like, oh.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that. I can see it in different capacities, of course, you know. And
Yeah.
it's funny you say meditation because I just started, not just started, but I started a new one recently. And
Mm-hmm.
something the guy that in the guided meditation he said, I had to write it
Mm-hmm.
down because I really think I'm going to tattoo it on myself. He
Mm-hmm.
finished by saying, "You are strong, you are capable, you are safe."
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh. And the "you are safe"
Chills.
part is just like,
Yeah.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
because
Who don't feel that?
I struggle with that. Oh, I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate going to big crowds. It's just, and that's what it is with me. Anyhow,
Yeah. I hate I don't know where that came from too, where I'm scared to go out in public thinking that it may happen again. Somebody may pull me right near it. You know, like that. I can't even drive on highways. That's how bad my anxiety is.
yeah,
I feel like somebody's gonna, smash into me and take me out the car. Like I'm telling you, my anxiety is on like 10,000 right now.
you've
So
got,
that's why I'm really trying to work on this right now because I just feel like I'm missing out. I'm missing out on things.
um, same, same.
Yeah.
I'd rather stay home.
Yes.
I'd rather stay home and lock my door. Like I'm always like checking, like I'm always checking the rooms when I get home. I'm like, all right, mother truck, like let's go.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if
Yeah.
that's just an us thing or it's a veteran first responder law enforcement. I don't know. I don't know if it's just like people that have been affected by PTSD or living with it because I've got it too. If that's just like part of that, I don't know where. I don't know. All I know is I've learned how to do breathing techniques and grounding, and that's
Yeah.
helping pull me out of a lot of stuff.
Yeah. I to lock my door, that's the only way I feel safe. Like there could be nobody there and I have to lock both doors. The bathroom door, every door has to be locked. I have to check it 2 or 3 times to make sure it's good before I go to bed. And then I have to sleep with like an iPad or something on because I'm always like, okay, I don't know, I don't sleep.
Dude, I'm the same
So
way.
I don't sleep.
Oh,
So I'm like, okay,
God.
okay, did I hear something? I'm always tossing and turning like, okay. So when you say you want to stay home, sometimes I actually have thought about quitting my job on several times just to stay home, just to feel safe. But I'm like, I don't know, that's not helpful.
No.
That's not helping me at all. So
Yeah.
I'm
No.
trying to figure this thing out.
I will happily lock arms with you so we can try to figure this out together. I really would.
Yeah.
I really would. Uh,
Yeah.
my biological dad used to give me crap for locking the doors all the time, and I'm like, dude, even now, like the other day, I was like, all right, I'm gonna just lock everything and
Hmm.
isolate myself. But I felt so safe. I can't explain it.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, a lot of work to do, and I think I gotta applaud you because the fact that you're like, I'm ready to dive into this. Um,
Hmm.
that's big. That's big.
Yeah.
That's
And just
big.
thinking like and it came back to that childhood. Like my door was unlocked. I didn't,
Ugh.
you know what I mean? So it stems, I think about, okay, it stems from all that. If I lock my door, nothing will happen to me. I'll be okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's scary.
The fact that you can acknowledge that even on here, that's big. That's a big win. You know, because that
Yeah.
might be a. I feel like that's the core of a lot of this, and it's like, dude, all right, how do we?
Hmm.
You've already peeled those layers of your onions, right? And now it's like, now we're here. You know, Goliath. Like, let's duke it out. Let's figure this shit out.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
because you do matter. You really do, and I
You
mean
do
that.
too.
Thank you. I know it's hard to believe because I'm like. I do, you know.
Yeah.
You really do.
Yeah.
Your story matters. What you're doing matters. And real quick, we're doing such good. We're doing real good on time, actually. Real quick, I know you mentioned something, and thank you for sharing all that. By the way, God,
Thank you. Thank you.
that was almost lost a few
I try not to
times.
throw up. I was like, what?
I know. I'm over here trying not to ugly cry like I did the other day when I was listening to that song. You
Man.
made mention about real quick, you know, and dude, I thought it was so funny how you answered this one question because you're so real and authentic, and I love that.
Mhm.
Forgive me, I forget who was interviewing you, but she was talking about this the program Sharp in the military,
Mhm.
and this and that, and you're like, honestly, it's a joke or something like that. And I'm like, yes, yes, yes. And and you said why, and you've made comments like the GMT training we have to do, the monthly training of sexual abuse or harassment or this, and you have to do it. You got to be in the green or you're gonna get in trouble, and that doesn't do shit for us. And honestly,
at all,
we don't even read it. We're just like click, 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 click. Is he done? Click. What are your answers? Okay, cool. Yeah, it's just it's a joke. It's a joke.
Yeah, that's what I did it just to
get back in the green.
Compliant. Yep.
Yeah.
Compliant.
Because God forbid if you're in the red, holy moly. But but what I wanted to say is when you said that, I felt like it was on my heart to just tell you, like, I want to partner with you. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know. But between your resources and my resources, our stories and people that we have like next to us, I think we could really push on the stuff that's not working in service to help those in transition, because mine sucked. That's when I was suicidal. I was like, you lose your identity, you lose your camaraderie. Right. Like, who are you without the uniform? Because guess what? When you're done, and they really don't give a shit about you. Not just them, but your branch of service. They don't call you to check in on you anymore. Like, nobody's on your ass to report or do whatever. So I feel like, and I'll tell you after we get off, I feel like there's a big, 8 weeks, 12 weeks to strip you down to be a robot. What the hell are they doing to get you ready for civilian life? 4 days of taps, if that. Like, nothing.
Yeah.
So with that, I have a lot of energy for you. And I feel like we can do something to move the needle just that much,
Definitely. Don't get me started with taps. 4 days of what? I didn't even remember half the stuff I did, but I was just in there falling off. Yeah. I didn't remember half the stuff I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will say this one thing, these programs that everybody throws down our neck, SHARP, suicide prevention, they suck, because suicide prevention basically showed me what I needed to do to commit suicide or to die by suicide. You told me not to tell people that I was suicidal. Okay. So I didn't do it. So it was like, it did the reverse for me. So nobody knew I was suicidal. Nobody knew. And then I didn't give my stuff away like they tell you you're going to do. Like everything. Yeah.
They're going to give their stuff away. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. It's like, that's not how that works, bro.
So it's so interesting. When you want to go, you're going to study that. And I studied it. Okay, I have to make sure I don't do this, and this, so nobody will know. And then nobody won't rescue me. That's what my mindset was. I didn't care about my son. I didn't care. I just wanted to go. In that moment I wanted to go. So the training they give us, you're teaching people how to be perpetrators. You're teaching them how to, to die by foot. Like, you're teaching us these things and not even realizing it. And so, it's a lot of work we need to do. We need to have real conversations with people who have really been through it, not just these computer-based training, CBTs, all that stuff. We need actual real people in the forefront. And so that's what I'm hoping for.
I'm ready to go to higher ups. I'm not talking about senior. I'm talking about higher ups. Like, higher
Congress.
Ups. Like, let's sit down and talk and have a real conversation, because this is ridiculous.
Yeah. And that's where a lot of our issues are, from our higher ups.
Oh yeah, they sweep it under the rug.
Yeah.
Like, nothing happens.
Definitely. I mean, look at our Department of Defense. The guy who's over that has been in trouble with child trafficking. That came out in December? You're supposed to be over the education system of Department of Defense, and you're involved with trafficking.
Yeah.
So what does that tell you?
There's politics. I'm gonna go.
Yeah. So that tells, hey, we're gonna stop, not say anything, but majority of rapists and pedophiles and all those guys are in.
Yeah.
Are politicians.
They're all politicians.
Throw it out there.
I mean, you're not wrong. I'm right there with you. And it doesn't matter which side. There is no side. It's all a big problem. But tell you what, the one side I'm willing to stand by is yours. So you tell me when and where, and I will be there.
All right, get ready, because we got some stuff coming through the pipeline here. So we're gonna be marching on it. We're gonna be watching it on in Washington here.
Let's go. Just be ready. Let's figure it out. I will happily. Let's do it. Let's figure it out.
Yeah.
But real quick before I let you go, gosh, this is good. This is good. I freaking love it. Sometimes, like, I don't even write bullet points. I'm just like, we're just going to have a conversation like we're having coffee, which I kind of was.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to stop drinking it because I was literally seeing sound, you guys. But seriously, where can people find you before I let you go?
So I'm on, I'm working on my platforms, but I'm on underscore Miss Keys, MSKES on Instagram. A little crazy on there, but or you can find me on LinkedIn, Lakeydra Houston. But I'm working on my website right now. But yeah, that's where you can find me for now.
Okay, I think I'll put your LinkedIn under the comments and stuff under the show notes, and then we'll see what happens. But
Awesome.
I'm so grateful for you, and I'm glad
Thank you.
I'm glad you're on the other side of it, and now it's just barreling through to heal from it, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
So,
Got to.
All right. Well, I appreciate you. Stay on. I'm going to say goodbye to my listeners, and we'll follow up real quick before we let you go for the night.
All right.
All right. Dude, guys. Whew, oh, my God. Did you guys have a meltdown like I did? Because that was amazing. I tell you what, 2024 is kicking off like crazy. These guests are just coming that much harder. It's crazy, man. These stories are good, and I love it. So make sure you like, subscribe, do all that other stuff that makes you YouTube famous. And I will see you later. Peace.